Last week, finally, millions of Americans woke up to the threat of the Chinese Communist Party. We can, of course, all thank the Chinese spy balloon for that. But ironically, most of the young people in this country, those below the age of, let's say, 30, learned about the spy balloon from videos that they saw on TikTok, the app that many cybersecurity experts call Chinese spyware masquerading itself as a social media platform. And so here's the big question. How do we get to this point? How do we arrive here? Forget the balloon for a moment. How is it that Hollywood caters which movies they produce or don't produce based on the whims of the Chinese Communist Party? How is it that almost all of the medicines here in America are actually made in China? And how did it come to be that American tech firms are helping China build up their AI infrastructure, which they will invariably use in a war against us? Why didn't our leaders stop any of this? Well, while I was down in Texas, I asked Mr. Steven Stockman, a former congressman from Texas, exactly that question. And his answer was pretty revealing. It gave an insider's take on why those in power, specifically why politicians, are unwilling to call out the Chinese regime. And so, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and take a listen. What I really would like to talk with you about is China, specifically the Chinese Communist Party. A lot of people, when they discuss China, they talk about it as if it's a normal country, and any criticism of the Chinese Communist Party, they often conflate with the Chinese nation or the Chinese people. So you have a lot of experience in China. You guys went to China. Can you talk a bit about what's going on that you saw from the human rights side?
I'm alarmed that well, first of all, the religious persecution is at an all-time level high under Xi. In my office, we wrote and complained about, actually, they were burning down Christian churches, and also what they've done to the Falun Gong, and also what they've done to the Uyghurs. They are just brutalizing their people. And I always get upset with Americans who are talking about slavery from 150 years ago, but we have slavery going on right now, and yet they're silent. They need to speak up. What's going on in China is tragedy, and you shouldn't be buying products made by slave labor. That's just wrong. And anything that your viewers can do, instead of just watching, they need to get involved, and they need to pass this clips and other clips that you have on to other people. They need to wake up. America's under attack by CCP, and if we don't wake up, we're going to lose this country, and Xi will be the president of our country.
Wow. Well, what do you think is contributing to people not calling China out to the level that they theoretically should, with the level of, for instance, slave labor camps that they have over in Xinjiang? What do you think is keeping people from calling them out?
Money. Everybody's got a vested interest. I mean, you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. They are obviously controlling our media now with our movies. They have funded almost every movie. They're the biggest market for movies, and only a certain amount get released in China each year, so they can basically tell our American producers what to censor in our movies or what to make. So, I mean, that's a big part of our culture for them to, actually own at this point. But also, they're in every politician's pocket, it seems. It seems like every outspoken Democrat at this point is pushing the CCP agenda. And I don't know, do they have something on China?
Here's what I think, too. She worked in the movie industry and modeling industry, and as soon as she started speaking out in ways that were not consistent, she got cut off. And it's the way it is. They are fearful. You watch sports stars criticize China, and then they're on TV or whatever apologizing and making amends for what they said was wrong, which is amazing. They shouldn't apologize. They should do the exact opposite. But China doesn't respect people that bend to that at all. They respect, like Trump, standing up to them. I don't think any of the stuff would happen where we're concerned now that after the Olympics, Taiwan may be invaded. I don't think none of this would happen if Trump was still in office, to be frank with you. With Biden, recall, people forget that Ukraine was taken over by Russia under Obama, and nothing was done. So I think they think Taiwan could be next.
So are you saying that the individual people, because you mentioned people calling out, the slavery that we had in America 150 years ago. So you believe that those kind of ordinary people, not necessarily the high-level athletes or the people who are very visible, but those people on the ground, they're not calling out China who is currently engaging in actual real-life slavery, because you said that they control the media and Hollywood. And does that mean that those people aren't getting the message? Maybe they're not aware of it, or they don't understand the scope of it, or what is it?
There's a block on it. NPR did a story today, which is paid for by American taxpayers' dollars. They did the history of the Communist Party and left out Tiananmen Square, Mao Zedong's killing and murdering people. The Cultural Revolution was all skipped over. How can you do that? Millions and millions of people were murdered and you just skip over it, but then we're focusing laser pointed on something that happened 150 years ago that none of the people alive today had anything to do with it. But this kind of crime is going on now and you're silent. It's criminal, absolutely criminal.
Wow. When you actually went over to China, can you tell us a little bit about what you saw?
One of the things that Jennifer and I can speak on, which was alarming, we asked to go to Tiananmen Square. They wouldn't let us go for obvious reasons because they know my viewpoints. But the other members of Congress asked to go to a hospital, and it was horrific. We went to what was called an organ transplant hospital, and I saw yellow windows, these people that were in these small, what was the best way? Cubicles, yeah. That they you couldn't sit up or anything. And I felt those people were probably being prepared for something that's horrible. I mean, no one said anything. They had it went up on a rise, and we looked at them, and then it was appalling. And no one's challenging the CCP. And if you do, they're fearful. You know, I'm from Houston, and the Consul General down there, I found out, was helping Antifa and BLM put demonstrations, and Trump closed it down to his credit.
When you were there visiting that hospital and you saw those questionable cubicles with the people, did you ask the people giving you the tour, and did they give you any kind of an answer?
We tried to. They blew us off.
It's like the usual. They just direct you to something else, or they say, no, this is the way, we're going to continue this way. Because they have your passports, they have your luggage. You can't go anywhere that they don't want you to. We also asked to visit Hong Kong, which we were denied, and we asked to visit a prison because we were worried about human rights abuses, to which we were, told no, of course. So it's, they just direct you to something else. Like, don't look over here, look over here. So it's the normal.
I have to tell you, we went to the Confucius Institute in China, and I said, why don't the Chinese people follow, because they keep saying Marx and communism. I said, you keep saying that's like a Chinese. That's not Chinese. That's Western culture. I said China needs to return to its roots of Confucius, Buddhism, and other religions that are more native. But this Marxism and communism is not Chinese. It comes from the West, and they're trying to deceive their own people about it. I had a cab driver who told me, no, Marx was Chinese. No, he's not. Just, if you viewers are listening and saying that Marx is Chinese, trust me, he's not. Nowhere near it.
Well, so this trip you took, it was just a personal trip, or you went as a congressional delegation?
No, it was a congressional delegation, yeah.
Oh, wow. So they wouldn't even let you visit Tiananmen Square, but I mean, that's just a public square, essentially, now. It's not like the demonstration is still ongoing there.
Yeah. No, but they don't.
They don't have time.
Yeah, I don't think they knew my views more so than other members. I think they didn't want to give me an opportunity to do something, I guess, is the best way I'm thinking.
All right, just to pause here for a super quick moment, I wanted to mention that the sponsor for today's episode is a super cool company called Sekur. And they're a cool company for people that actually care about their privacy. Because listen, if you don't think that these giant tech conglomerates and all these different alphabet agencies within the US government are spying on your messages, well, then frankly, you are not paying enough attention to the news. However, all that can be in the past because with Sekur, they have awesome proprietary technology that has all your messages and all your emails actually go through Switzerland as they're making their way back and forth between you and your recipient. And so let's say you're here in America and the person you're messaging is over in Canada, Mexico, or anywhere else in the world. Well, it doesn't matter because all your messages are actually going through Switzerland back and forth from one to another, meaning that they're not subject to the Cloud Act and they are only subject to Swiss laws, which are some of the safest in the entire world. Their technology is awesome, it's proprietary, and they're a company that actually cares about your freedom. They care about getting the facts out, which is why they sponsor a company like ours. And best of all, they are offering a 25% off deal for our viewers, for the viewers of Facts Matter. So head on over to Sekur.com and use promo code Roman to get 25% off. And the rates are not even that expensive to start with. It's only $5 for the messenger and $10 for the email and messenger combo. And they even offer a 7-day free trial. So again, head on over to Sekur.com, use promo code Roman, save some money, and support an awesome sponsor. So the you mentioned the organ harvesting. Now that to me is the scandal of the century. I mean, and it's a crime of the century, but the scandal is the media's lack of coverage of it. Like we've done stories where I don't know if do you know Matthew Robertson? Have you ever?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've heard of him.
So what he did is he called the drug manufacturers for the drugs that you need when you have an organ transplant,
Right.
and then he found the volume of the Chinese hospitals, the volume of drugs that they were buying, and he matched the construction for the amount of beds that they built in these hospitals, and so this organ transplant industry in China and where these organs are coming from, it's big. Can you talk a little bit about? Let's say the people, our viewers, don't know about this. What's going on with the organ transplant in China? Can you tell them about it?
First of all, I'd like to say that if you're not aware of it, you should get aware of it. And if your friends aren't aware of it, you should notify them, educate them. And it's not just that. The Uyghurs are going into Kazakhstan and explaining what's happening. This is a brutal regime, very close. And by the way, there's a lot of evidence that the Wuhan virus was created oddly in Wuhan. But the harvesting of organs is one of the most reprehensible things. And a lot of times, they take both your kidneys. You don't live through the harvest organ. I mean, having your organs harvested like that. And they execute more people than any country in the world, and they take the organs from that too. But one of the most persecuted groups that they've been harvesting organs is from the Falun Gong. And it's horrible. And that used to be, Falun Gong was accepted by the government. Many in the government practiced Falun Gong. And it wasn't until somehow they felt threatened that they turned on this peaceful religion. And when they did that, they then decided for some reason that they're ideal for harvesting their organs. And I'm blown away that more people don't know about it. I think the reason it's so reprehensible, I think that's one of the reasons why more people don't know about it. I can guarantee you can go through, even in here where they're fairly educated, almost none of them know about it. And this is an educated crowd.
Do you have any opinion of why the media fails to cover this topic?
Well, I think now the left, in actuality, the CCP has really controlled. There was, you've probably seen this, where a CCP official said, we have all our people are involved in the American media. And he said that over in China, and forgive me, I don't know his name, you're probably better at this than I am, but he was quite blunt about it, bragging about it. And so I think they have media dominance through China. I think China is very effective at that. They don't do a lot of effective things, but they do that. It's pretty effective. Propaganda. I mean, that's what communism is, propaganda.
Yeah, and one thing they're also very effective at is using the issues within America to divide us, but also to obfuscate their own problems. For instance, when we were mailing out copies of a special edition that we put together about the virus, about the possibility that it came from a lab, how the Chinese Communist Party covered it up, the media painted, and we did a very big campaign. Granted, we mailed a lot of copies to a lot of addresses. It was a subscription campaign.
Awesome, I might say. In fact, if there's a place they can donate to keep you doing that, that'd be great.
All right.
See you, Steve.
So the media attacked us, and one of the pieces of ammo they used is that they said we're being essentially racist against the Chinese people.
Which is ironic.
Or it's anti-Chinese racism to do this, right? So I don't know. Can you speak to a little bit about the way that this all kind of works together? How the Chinese Communist Party narrative is in very kind of lockstep congruence with this leftist ideology.
They openly admit they have their sources, and they openly admit that this is, they're using their sources to push a narrative, and they push that narrative, and that's the narrative that it's racist, which is ironic. It's like they call Chinese anti-Chinese. It just doesn't make sense. That's kind of laughable in a way, but it's to everybody, by the way, is accused of racism for everything, no matter what you didn't catch a fish, that's racism, so they're really overusing it, and the truth is that there's a lot of evidence now, more and more. When they first started out, they said it was a myth, a lie, and now there's more and more evidence, and they did so much to cover it up, and I know you in your publication already mentioned this, but they arrested people, made them retract what they said, and I still think that one gentleman, the researcher that died, he didn't die from COVID. They said he died from COVID, but I'm pretty suspicious about that.